Chris Sims did his quarterback rankings that he does every time this year. He actually had C.J. Stroud as 7th, which is higher than where a lot of people have him right now. Just behind his idol, Matt Stafford, just ahead of Justin Herbert, which makes sense. I don't get mad at any rankings unless they've got Justin Herbert ahead of C.J. Stroud after we saw exactly who Justin Herbert was in the playoffs last year. But here is Phil Sims pointing out that a lot of the 2024 negatives were not C.J. Stroud's fault.
Of the film and the negative is not C.J. Stroud. I go, no, it's the Houston Texans. He can't block them. He can't get open for them. He can't call another play where it's like, wait, we can't block, so now we're sending. Remember, we had this conversation during the season. Wait, we can't block anybody, so we're keeping everybody in the block, so now we only have 2 or 3 people going out and routes downfield. Oh, and that's right, Nico Collins is hurt, and Stephon Diggs is not playing. So who's getting open? Oh, hey, we got Tank Dell. Okay, yeah, but he's about to get hurt too, so then what are we going to do there? I mean, so that's where we all threw it on C.J. Stroud for the step back, and I'd go, it was anything but that.
Yeah, I don't think most of the people watching here are Texans fans. They agree wholeheartedly. We saw the mess that was out there. I would add to that, and I'll show you a couple illustrations of this, how decrepit and unreliable the run game was and how that had just a cumulative effect of making everything worse in the pass game. So on the offensive line, but yes, with the tight ends, with the wide receivers, the run game guys were not doing their part. I'll bring up the Tennessee game because that was the one where I knew I could go and find some plays that made me really angry last year. This is Joe Mixon getting stuffed behind the line of scrimmage. And I just want you to watch the number of guys who go unblocked on this particular play, including guys that weren't even necessarily involved in the play. Dang it, this is the wrong one. Here we go. Here comes, okay, Joe. I wrote Joe Mixon sacked instead of Joe Mixon stuffed. So first, watch this defensive tackle who does not make the play, but watch the left guard on the defensive tackle. He's supposed to work up to that linebacker, but Devondre Sweat just manages to stumble him up. That's not defensive holding by a long shot. So 56, who will not make the play on this, just runs free. Could have still made a stuff if the other guy hadn't gotten there before him. We'll get to him. And then let's, who do we take? We'll take a look at number 17 here because he was doing this all day on a lot of the zone runs where, okay, unblocked. We'll get to why he's unblocked in a second. But he goes ahead and maybe instead of staying front side, just slips through the back door. But no, don't worry. He doesn't make the play. He just trusted that the play would be turned back eventually because that's what was happening all day long. The linebackers just, they backdoored blocks. They just shot into the backfield because if Mixon ever did actually make it to the outside, you've got 49 there coming completely free. And we'll see how that happens. So 49 off to the right of your screen, and Dalton Schultz gives him a little of a head bob, and then he's supposedly going to slip up and block that number 17, who also remains unblocked. And instead, you end up with nobody blocking 49 or 17. You got on that play alone, I counted 4 offensive linemen who maybe potentially blocked 1 defensive player, and then you've got guys railing to the ball. That was a 1st and 10 that turned into a 2nd and 10. Multiple instances of that game of 1st and 10s that turned into 2nd and 10 or 2nd and 9s that turned into 3rd and 11 because of just horrendous run blocking. One more thing to point out about this, because I know one thing that people say is, well, what happens when a team loads the box? Well, when you line up with 2 tight ends in the core, you don't have to walk your safeties up. The box is not loaded. That's 7 men in the box. And time after time, they were getting stuffed in this game with that. If we go to pass protection and just how miserable it was for C.J. Stroud with pass protection, you guys will all remember this. I didn't have to go far to find one in the Green Bay game. I knew it would deliver for me. I'm going to do something that's not very popular. I'm going to give a little bit of a break to Dalton Schultz on this. The defender comes from the left on the blitz, sacks C.J. Stroud. And I know it's tempting to say, if you watch Dalton Schultz right there, number 86, hey, why the hell did you just let that go by you? The problem is not with Dalton Schultz. The problem is that because the Texans were so bad in pass protection, they would resort to full turn protection, which you don't like to do in the NFL because the defense knows exactly how to play it. And a lot of times they can dial up exactly where the weakness is going to be. But because the interior defenders were so bad and because the team was so bad at picking up blitzes, you're going to see everybody on the offensive line initially start off to the right. So if we go right there, everybody's responsible for somebody to their right. The reason the left guard is coming back is because his guy disappeared. So Dalton Schultz steps down, sees that his guy disappears. He's thinking maybe this other guy is coming around. And theoretically, yeah, maybe he gets out to that cornerback, but it's a great effort if he does. It's not dialed up in the design. The other part of this that really stinks is this is why it all snowballs. You've got a second year center there making the protection calls. You've got CJ who's not necessarily dialed in on everything that's happening in protection and where the threats are. But CJ theoretically should be aware that that's where the problem spot is and that he's got to get rid of the ball quickly. It's just that everything at that point and in that game especially, multiple instances, remember, of both the offensive tackle and the running back blocking an interior defender while the actual edge rusher just ran free. There was a play where Titus Howard just stumbled over his own feet and let up a sack, and then for God knows what reason looked to the sideline like it wasn't his fault. It was a mess. If you're coming here and you didn't watch the Texans last year, just trust me. There was so much stuff going on that wasn't CJ Stroud's fault. Sims said CJ wasn't perfect, but no problem with decision making.
Perfect? No. Did he have some down moments? Sure, he did. But I think a lot of those down moments were more about like, oh no, the team's not playing well. We're not doing well on offense. I'm going to try to force something or make something happen, right? Or I'm under pressure and I'm trying to make big throws down the football field regardless of what I'm under and who's hitting me and who's open and not open. So that's what you look at. But I watch him and I go, I have no problem with his decision making. His decision-making is really good.
I think his decision-making is still really good. I think there's two areas where the decision-making can improve. Well, like as it is with any young quarterback, there's going to be areas of improvement. One is simply in when to be greedy downfield. There are times where he's a hitch late, a beat late on checking it down. And we've talked about this. The guys, the real veteran quarterbacks, they live the cliches. They live out, hey, take what the defense gives you. Don't go broke. You won't go broke making a profit, all of that. But that's where I guess the second part of this, what I'd add into it, is that Woody Marks can be a huge part of that. Because honestly, there's only so much that you can do with Daria Gumbawali as a receiving back. Joe Mixon, that's not his calling card. With Woody Marks, you add an element to the offense where you do have to, when you've got multiple vertical routes called, you can't stick around too long waiting to see what develops downfield. If you've got a certain first down with a running back, I would go to the, I want to say it was the Lions game. No, I think it was the Lions game where CJ, no. Might have been the Ravens game, whatever. The one where Dalton Schultz was wide open, but he wasn't his first option. The protection was awful. That was not his fault. But he probably could have gotten Schultz wide open as not the primary option on that route if he had bailed on the pass protection a little bit earlier. But I'm still going to give an explanation, not an excuse for CJ in that instance. It's really hard to make good decisions when you can't trust the pass protection. When broken down pass protection isn't an anomaly, it's what you've come to expect. What we saw in the Kansas City game and then that Green game as well is that I think by the time he got to the fourth quarter, CJ had no expectation of protection, and it was really hard for him to function and make those right decisions when he just had no idea exactly when he was about to get pounded in the kidneys. Didn't mean it that way. The other big part of it too, what he alluded to there, what Chris Sims alluded to, is the decision-making, especially when it comes to the shorter, quicker stuff. CJ was really good with that when Stefon Diggs was in the game. And his numbers dropped notably, in all the categories after Stefon Diggs went out, because we saw multiple times early in the season, even if the pass protection wasn't good, he knew exactly where Diggs was going to be. He got rid of it quickly. He made a lot of really impressive tight window throws. And that's what you're hopefully going to get with Christian Kirk. That's what you're going to get with Jalen Noel. That part of it I feel really good about. I think it's going to be better. Those protection issues. Let me bring this up with the run again, just to point to how bad the offensive line combined with the play calling was last year. I still get angry about this. So you remember last year, one of the issues with the Titans was that the defensive tackles were just destroying the interior offensive linemen. So what do we dial up on 3rd and 1? We're just going to go right at those two defensive linemen. And Justin Simmons here, not Justin Simmons, the defensive tackle here, the awesome defensive tackle whose name escapes me right now. Like usually in this situation as a defensive tackle, it's a win if your feet end up where they started. If you just hold the line of scrimmage when you're getting combo blocked like this, especially on a quick count. But look, I mean, he rockets off the ball, ends up driving the center back into the running back. Meanwhile, T'Vondre Sweat is just boxing a dude out. I mean, so the play call was that. That was the play call. That was the play call when you needed it on 3rd and 1. And mind you, they invited everybody into the box. Look at this condensed formation. Like there's no space to work with. They invite everybody into the box. The whole damn defense is right there. What did you think was going to happen, Bobby Slowick? Like use your damn eyeballs. Getting more worked up than I should about this. Chris Sims said other nice stuff about C.J. Stroud. His ability to replicate his throwing motion is elite. Elite.
Ability to replicate his throwing motion, I would say him and Joe Burrow are the best in football at that. It's just being machines and mechanically throw after throw after throw after throw. Yeah, he is one of the most skilled throwers, passers in the group. He might not have as strong an arm as Justin Herbert or Baker Mayfield or a Lamar or a Mahomes, but it's plenty strong. Okay, but it's the pinpoint accuracy and then all the versatility in the throws he has off that.
Yeah, that's 100% true. I think the big curiosity last year was some of the curiously errant throws. And just looking back on the season, I'm very comfortable thinking that a lot of that, or especially the errant throws, were due to whatever injuries he was struggling through. Sean Pendergast this morning brought up a great point, which was that underthrow to Tank Dell in the Detroit game. That, if you go back and just look at that, you could almost see CJ consciously deciding whether or not to throw the ball. And that's a classic hallmark of quarterbacks that are injured. They're just like, I'm not sure if, okay, I'll do it. And then it's too late. And like he had time, even though he was under pressure, where he could have set his feet and throw it. He wasn't able to make that throw. He had that one bad throw to Nico Collins late in the season that you just don't tend to see out of CJ Stroud. As far as his shoulder soreness, I'm comfortable at this point that, as CJ said, he worked out really hard in the weight room this offseason, and he said there's a risk reward to that. And I think hopefully he learned his lesson that quarterbacks can't be going so hard that their shoulders get sore from weight room work. Your legs, like keep working hard on your legs. That will serve you well as a thrower of the football and as a guy that's got to break tackles. If you got to err on the side of caution when it comes to training your chest and your shoulders too much, I think he'll be fine with that. If they can keep him upright more, that is the biggest numero uno thing as far as keeping CJ Stroud's shoulder healthy this year. That's the only thing that concerns me about it. Sims, let's say I'm going to jump down to the Texans. This is what we all know, something I've preached the entire time. Phil Sims saying, let's look at the obvious. If CJ Stroud was the issue, then why did the team do this?
The reason they fired their offensive coordinator after going to the playoffs 2 years in a row. There's a reason they've totally said the hell with our offensive line after going to the playoffs 2 years in a row. They're telling you without telling you the problems were the team were not C.J. Stroud. It was our pass protection scheme and our offensive line. And that's what they had to fix. And C.J. Stroud, the Texans, I will not be shocked if they're in the Super Bowl this year.
Super Bowl, not shocked. I'm right there with you, fella. I think that's very, very possible, especially with the defense playing the way that they do. And not to mention the addition of C.J. Gardner-Johnson, who has Super Bowl experience. On the offensive side of things, as I will say until the day I die, you don't have to have 5 all-pro offensive linemen. You've got to have guys that are doing things other than whatever the hell that was on just this mix and stuff. Just to watch it again in all of its glory, just guard on the ground, 4 defenders that could have made the play there. You've got unblocked nickel backers and linebackers all day long, just going ahead and shooting whichever gap they want as they run past. Very healthy and potential blockers This is the nonsense. It's got to stop. CJ had amongst the very most 2nd and 10 and 3rd and 10 plus situations in all the league last year. We know the stat about Pat Mahomes. His pass rush pressure rate in the Super Bowl was less than what CJ's was the entire year. It's really, really hard to operate as a quarterback when you're getting pressured that much. The other thing about Pat Mahomes, and this goes back to the run game, 100%. If you want to be, football intellectual and say, hey, establish the run is a bygone notion. Yeah, I don't think you have to be the best rushing team in the league. You do have to credibly run the football. And one thing that the Chiefs have done well, even as Mahomes' numbers aren't the same as they used to be, is they get into 3rd and 4. They get into 2nd and 6. They get into manageable downs. And they had so many unmanageable downs, which made it, frankly, an unmanageable experience last year.